Hi, and welcome back to 16-Minute Church. My name is Mike Venema. I hope your week's been going well. Here's a few words from one of the Psalms, one of the poems in the Bible. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the God of gods, for his steadfast love endures forever. Give thanks to the Lord of lords, for his steadfast love endures forever. Each week on 16-Minute Church, we try to look at one of the stories of Jesus Christ. So this one is taken from Mark chapter 5. We've been following Mark's version of Jesus' life for the last couple of months. And so we find Jesus again around the Lake of Galilee. And he's been attracting crowds, and he's been demonstrating his power and authority from the get-go in Mark's Gospel. So reading from Mark 5. When Jesus again had crossed over by the boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue leaders, named Jairus, came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He pleaded earnestly with Jesus, "My little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live." Jesus went with him. So by now, Jesus has gained a reputation not only as a teacher, but as a healer. It's a very interesting passage because, once again, we have Jesus traveling across the Lake Galilee by boat, and once again, a large crowd gathers to hear him, and with many, as we will see, wanting to be healed. Interestingly, the leader of the local Jewish synagogue comes to Jesus desperate to save his daughter. Now, perhaps this synagogue leader has been warned to stay away from Jesus. Many of the Jewish leadership of Jesus' time definitely strongly disapproved of Jesus, and in one synagogue, they actually tried to kill him. But this synagogue leader, even if he has been warned, is desperate to have his daughter live. So I think this is why he's reaching out to Jesus, his last hope. Jesus agrees to go and heal the girl. And then there's a delay in this, in his walking to the home of Jairus. And this is how the delay happened. I'm reading again. A large crowd followed and pressed around him, and a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She'd suffered a great deal under the care of doctors and had spent all she had, yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his coat, because she thought, "If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed." Immediately, her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" "You see people crowding against you," his disciples answered, "and yet you can ask, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. And then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, and trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Well, this is also an interesting passage. Up till now, Mark has told us stories about Jesus healing people. Jesus speaks with them. He touches them sometimes, and they are healed. But then we read about this woman who'd been constantly bleeding for a dozen years and had spent any money that she had on doctors. Jesus has no conversation with her. He doesn't do anything like touch her to heal her. She just sneaks up to him silently, desperate to be healed. "Even if I can just touch his clothing," she said to herself, and she is healed. And this account shows us something about the power of Jesus. Even when Jesus is not consciously directing his power, it flows. This account of this woman ends on a gracious note, the woman trembling with fear because Jesus, a revered healer from God, may disapprove of her sneaking up to him. Jesus, I think, though, moved by love and pity, speaks gently to her. Your faith in me is what brought healing, he says. Be healed and be at peace. Now, back to Jairus. While Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. Your daughter is dead, they said. Why bother the teacher anymore? Overhearing what they had said, Jesus told him, don't be afraid, just believe. He did not let anyone follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. And when they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw a commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and said to them, why all this commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep. But they laughed at him. After Jesus put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, Talitha cum, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. Jesus gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this and told them to give the girl something to eat. So, comment. Again, this is an astounding demonstration of the power of Jesus. He brings back from death the daughter of Jairus. And now we see just how far the power and authority of Jesus reach. But why does he say that the child is only sleeping? I think this is to take away the certainty that she had really been dead. I'm very sure she was dead. Those messengers would not have told Jairus that his daughter was dead unless they were sure that she had stopped breathing and that there were no longer any signs of life. But if word gets out that Jesus can raise people from the dead, well, who knows what kind of requests people will bring to him. In addition, it is not yet time for the full glory and power of Jesus to be revealed to the broader Jewish community. That time would come, but it is not yet. And for these reasons, Jesus lets only a few people witness the girl being raised, and he strongly warns those who had seen her raised not to tell anyone. And by the way, give this little girl something to eat. She's probably hungry.
You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you.
We're going to keep moving through Matthew's account of Jesus' life, and we are at Matthew chapter 7. We'll begin reading at the very beginning of the chapter, verse 1. Chapter 7 is one of several chapters, Matthew 5, 6, and 7, what are called the Sermon on the Mount, because Jesus is on a hillside, on a mountain, so to speak, and he is teaching the people the ways of God. He's teaching the people what God expects of them, how he wants them to live, and he's giving them encouragement and help to do that. So beginning at verse 1, do not judge, Jesus says, or you too will be judged. For in the same way that you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye, and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And do not give dogs what is sacred, and do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them underfoot and turn and tear you to pieces. Well, there are three lessons, I think, in this passage. First, we will be judged by the same standards by which we judge other people. Therefore, judge others graciously. Years ago, when I lived under the same roof with my parents, I would have some pretty harsh thoughts about them. I would see what I thought were mistakes that they were making with me and my siblings, and I would say to myself, I'm never going to treat my kids that way. I'm not going to speak to them in the way that mom and dad speak to me. I knew a lot back then. But then I became the father to 3 children, and I would catch myself doing the exact same things for which I judged my parents. So in this way, my judgmentalism about my parents came back on me. The standards you use to measure others, Jesus taught, will be the standards that are used on you. How true. We experience this in life, and I would say that when we meet God, we will experience the same thing. Our own judgmental words and attitudes will be what judge us. We can't live up even to our own standards. Therefore, and here's the first lesson, judge others graciously. When we judge others graciously, we can expect that we will be judged graciously also when we meet God. The second lesson in this passage is this. We are permitted, so to speak, to be judgmental, but only about one person. And who would that be? Well, you're probably guessing it. It's our own selves. Don't bother, Jesus teaches, to worry about judging other people. Just look in the mirror. Look at yourself. You will find plenty to improve on right there. And the third lesson is, yes, of course, don't be judgmental. Look at other people graciously. But does this mean that we cannot make judgments, appropriate judgments about other people? Should we throw all caution to the winds and give ourselves and our resources to just anyone who asks something from us? I think I hear Jesus answering that question with a no. I think he's quoting a Jewish proverb, and he's using it to say to that question, should we give anything to just anyone who wants it? Jesus is saying no. You still have to exercise judgment. We still have to exercise judgment about people. We must not be judgmental, but we still have to discern, to in a way be discriminating as to the character of other people. If we meet people who are abusive, people who trample into the mud any good that you may try to do for them, you don't need to give them your pearls. Don't be judgmental, but do make sound judgments about the people around you. Don't allow people to run over you. Not just anyone deserves to marry your son or your daughter. Not just anyone deserves your financial support. Not everyone deserves your encouragement. Many, many do. So do judge others generously, but with caution. Look at people as far as you can with grace.
You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
Well, thanks so much for being part of 16-Minute Church this week. Please don't forget to subscribe and to like if you haven't already subscribed. And I hope the rest of your week goes great. I'll see you next time, and may God bless you. Bye-bye.